Today on First Cup, we're going to talk about some quotes from Joe Rogan, and we're going to talk about why I'm not wearing a bathrobe for the first time ever. And we're also going to answer a question about, is there something that would make your martial arts worse? Stick around in 10. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Wednesday. It's August 11th, 2021. My name is Jeremy. This is my first cup of coffee. Oh, that's very warm. Well, let's start with the most important part. I'm so tired. Yesterday was a challenging day. They've all been challenging. Yesterday was a challenging day. I realized I have to start pulling back on some things. I have to give myself space, and that's not easy for me. And that created some stress and some pressure. And I had to tell some people that I couldn't do some things that I didn't want to do, or that I really didn't feel I was able to do, and I didn't like having to do that. And that, coupled with the fact it was hot and muggy all day, and when I went to bed, it was still upper 70s. And right now it's 70 and muggy. Like, all the doors are open because it's slightly cooler outside, but this is going to be an air-conditioned day. As soon as I'm done with this show, I'm probably going to put the air conditioner on. Just, ugh. And I woke up various points. I don't think I really got to sleep until close to 2 o'clock. Good morning, Frank. Frank says, good morning, sleepyhead. And so, yeah, this is going to be a day. By the way, Frank, thank you. I didn't find it until this morning. Frank was kind enough to send me something. But everything's fine. They're fine. So no robe, right? And if it wasn't super hot, I'd be wearing something with sleeves. You know, this is not my attempt to display skin. It's not really my nature. But it's so hot that the idea of wearing more than I have to is killing me. I am wearing some linen pants that are surprisingly cool because I have to wear pants. I can't Donald Duck this thing in case I do get up for some reason. Yeah. Good morning, Craig. Craig, a big old thank you your way. I'm going to be reaching out soon. Daniel says, morning, Jeremy. Sorry to hear it was a crappy, non-sleep-filled night t-shirt day today, I see. Yeah, we're going to, in part due to your feedback and feedback from a number of others. Good morning, John. They did pack it with dry ice. A number of you reached out and you said, look, I don't care about the robe, but maybe others do. And since nobody cares, let's try it. Let's see what happens. I'm open to trying it. We've done it with the robe for who knows how long. Oh, yeah. But there were points where I got up and I came and I sat out here and flipped around on my phone. Took a shower at one point to cool off. Yeah. I didn't even leave the house yesterday. I went to the mailbox. That was as far as I got. Sat here. I worked, played video games. Makes it sound like I played a lot of video games. No, I worked. I worked until 4. And I got some good work done. The flexibility program / book it's ready. It's ready, and there is time carved out tomorrow morning. The focus of my morning tomorrow. Yeah, three-ish years of the robe. The focus of tomorrow morning will be getting that program book out there, all the different ways it needs to get out there, and to let people know about it. Oh. I asked 4 people to contribute forwards. 2 of them did. And they're good. They're good. The one who I think, even though their position doesn't carry the most weight in society, the one who has the best understanding of these things is the one who gave me the best forward and the one who dug in the deepest on it. And I'm so happy. I really am thankful for, I'm assuming most of you will read it, for Michelle's forward and in a sense, endorsement. If we go back, when was Michelle on the show? She was in the first 10. She's always been a very supportive friend. I appreciate her. Frank says, I'm glad I suggested the shirt during August. I hadn't thought about it being cooler. Yeah, it really is. It's cooler while I'm sitting. If you own a robe, you understand that while you're moving around, a robe is cooler than conventional clothing because it's kind of open, kind of breathes. So I'm excited about the flexibility program. I'm really excited to see what people do with it. I'm excited to see how much it stirs the pot and what the result is. Because we know there are people who will always react no matter what you do. There are people who will disagree. They'll find fault with anything that challenges their views, their perspectives, their understandings. And there are a lot of people for whom this is going to challenge their views. It's all backed up by science. Lots of peer-reviewed science. You can test it out, and it's free. The coffee this morning is a Starbucks French roast. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I'm probably going to drink way too much coffee today. What am I doing today? I have acupuncture later. I've got a box. Somebody ordered some gear. I packed it up yesterday, and I couldn't get out of the house in time. So on the very small chance that that person is watching, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't mail your order yesterday. It'll go out today. Acupuncture, I got a client call, a few other things. Frank says, Grater's is the best ice cream I have ever had. You'll have to have something to cool off today. So for, since I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't know if you wanted to be mentioned in that way, but Frank sent me ice cream. There was a package sent with lots of ice cream. And I didn't see it until this morning, and I was terrified when I saw what it was, that it had all melted. Nope, it was still hard. It would not have made it through today, that's for sure. But got it in the freezer. It's a great joke from Daniel. I had acupuncture once. When I got home, my voodoo doll was dead. Like that. All right. Did I? I didn't. It feels like so long ago. I recorded 2 podcast episodes yesterday, and one of them was so over the top exceptional. It might be the best episode we've ever done. It truly may be. It is definitely a top 5 episode for me. I don't name names. And I also don't name for 2 reasons. One, we don't talk about who's coming up on the show. If you want to know, you've got to join Patreon. It's one of the things we keep exclusive over there. But I think over the next, let's say, month or 2, when this episode comes out, you'll listen to it and go, I bet that's the one Jeremy's talking about. Because you'll feel it. it was strong. It was a strong episode. All right. So what do we got? I know Frank sent over some quotes from Joe Rogan, who turns, if I'm remembering what I read correctly, 54 today. You know, one of the things I like most about Joe Rogan, and I don't listen to his show all the time. I look for episodes where he's talking to someone that I really like or want to hear, because the episodes are really long. They're hours long. What I like about Joe Rogan is a few things. He's willing to admit when he's wrong or doesn't know something. He's willing to speak his mind. He's willing to challenge people. That's one of the things we don't do on martial arts radio. Our format doesn't accommodate that. I don't challenge our guests very often. And it's one of the things that sometimes I kept some flack for. Why didn't you blah, 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 blah? And usually the person making that hateful comment has an agenda. I don't do agendas. But I like that in building this format, so many people have been drawn to Joe Rogan's podcast that he's able to get anybody, the biggest names in the world. People want to go on that show. I still want to go on that show. I still want to go on and talk about martial arts with Joe. I want to talk about MMA and the negative impacts that has had on martial arts, and how the way the UFC presents these characters is not a good thing. I'd love to have a great conversation with him about it. And I think it would be a great conversation because he's an old school martial arts guy. He grew up in New England doing tournaments. I would all but guarantee that we have people in common. So what are some of these quotes we got from him? The key to happiness doesn't lay in numbers in a bank account, but in the way we make others feel. Now you might say that's easy to say when you're a multi-millionaire. For those of you who don't know, Spotify bought the rights to his show for 10 years for $100 million. It's a lot of money. But good on him. He's got the biggest show in the world. And I don't mean biggest podcast. I mean biggest show. More people pay attention to Joe Rogan's show than any other single show. More people are paying attention to Joe Rogan's show than CNN. That's a big deal. Something to consider. Podcasting is powerful. We'll never get there because we don't serve the broad market, and we don't intentionally bring on people that we know are controversial. We've brought on people who are controversial. We don't do it intentionally. I'm not even going to name the names of the controversial people because that's not why we brought them on. We brought them on because they had stories to tell. But that quote, that comment, how you make people feel, I think that's pretty important. And Daniel says, podcasts are worldwide. CNN is mainly US. Yeah, and that's exactly it. He's created something that so many people around the world want to watch or listen to. And I think it's a testament to the fact that we appreciate long form. Here's a great example. If in the last election, I'm not going political. In the last election, if you were to try to figure out what Bernie Sanders wanted to do from mass media, you were getting sound bites. You were getting short clips, brief interviews. And it was very easy for the media to make him sound like an idiot. Quite often they did. Intentionally? Probably. But then if you listen to him on Joe Rogan's podcast, the guy made far more sense. There are subjects that cannot be reduced to short bits. You can't hack your way to full understanding, which is why so many people dislike doing forms in the martial arts. There's no way around it other than putting in a whole bunch of time. You got to put in a lot of time to get the benefits from it. Stacy says, I feel slightly embarrassed. I have no idea who he is other than you've mentioned wanting to be on a show. I would encourage you to look him up because he is not necessarily Joe himself, because I think he does a pretty good job of facilitating conversation. I don't get the sense that he has a lot of agenda other than he wants to talk to people and learn from them. Which honestly, if I had his platform and his connections, that's what I would do as well. But he's an interviewer. He's the most popular interviewer of our time. And I think he's worth being aware of, even if you're not paying attention to him. Haters are all failures. It's 100% across the board. No one who is truly brilliant at anything is a hater. It's a great point. I don't like making absolutes. So I don't know that I want to say 100%. And the reason I don't like absolutes is because the moment somebody can come up with any exception, even if it's only an exception in their mind, they don't pay attention to anything you say. I had an interesting conversation. Somebody posted on a martial arts Facebook group post yesterday, trashing Van Damme, saying he was a terrible martial artist. And I replied, when have you seen him do martial arts? I've seen him in movies. Are you assuming that that is the full extent and quality of his martial arts skill? Because to me, that's a whole bunch of rehearsed and repeated choreography. I hope somebody would never judge a martial artist exclusively by what they've done in their movies. And I expected it to become a bit combative. I've been feeling a little feisty lately and sticking up for people. I've been trying to. Because the infighting in the martial arts, it irritates me. I think you all know that. But what was interesting was we ended up with a few comments back and forth. He said he went and he watched some videos on YouTube, and ultimately he messaged me. And for the first time, I had a pretty good conversation with somebody out of this. Now, ultimately, the kind of day I had, I wasn't as thoughtful in my responses as I could have been. And actually, the last thing I sent to him was, you know what? I just reread the last thing I sent you. I'm having a rough day. I'm going to get back to you when I can be a little bit more intentional with my words. I'm finding more and more that I'm able to get, not to this level, but I'm able to get people to respond thoughtfully. How do I do that? I don't attack. I don't say, I can't believe you would think that. I try to come up with a thoughtful, respectful way to get people to realize that they're, in this case, making a pretty broad generalization based on a very small amount of information. I don't think people want to be jerks. I don't think people want to be negative, but it's easy to do so. And if we attack them, you can consider your favorite political subject here. If we attack people for disagreeing with us, nothing good happens. It is literally only a waste of time. And I see so many people do. I've talked about that. I'm going to keep talking about it because it's dumb. Stop attacking people for disagreeing with you. Try to understand their perspective. Try to help them understand yours. If the goal is to change their mind, you're not going to get it. If the goal is to engage with them in a respectful way, you're much more likely to have a positive outcome. Are podcasts like Joe Rogan's the modern day replacement for the traditional talk show, do you think? Dennis is in the chat saying, I would say most definitely. I would agree. And I think I have to say this, even if it means some kind of negative thing happening. We are at this really, really weird time where the internet was supposed to be this decentralization of information. But we've ended up in these pods, these spaces. And those spaces are getting more and more heavy-handed in determining what information can and cannot be said. It's not a good thing. The number of times, just Joe Rogan show as an example, the number of times that Joe Rogan had his stuff pulled down from YouTube because he said something that triggered something somewhere. And you might think, well, Jeremy, that only happens when something that is dangerous or hateful is said. And that is the intention. However, yesterday, someone that I know personally, someone on my Facebook friends list, posted a screenshot of something in Facebook Marketplace that they tried to sell that was removed because of Facebook's prohibition on the sale of live animals. And she appealed. And the decision stood. They said, no, this violates our sale of, it was a pair of shoes. Do you trust these people with censoring our information? I do not. I am the only person who should be determining what information I see. Not you, not some mystical group of people on high. It is too much power. Chris is in the chat saying, something that I've learned is mostly true is that you cannot ever tell someone they are wrong, but you have to show them. They're much more inclined to admit maybe they were wrong that way. People don't like to be wrong. They don't. It takes a very, very humble person to admit when they're wrong. And if you're trying to show them that they are wrong, you have to give them the opportunity to remain humble. This is why I don't understand the strategy of hateful attacks. If the goal is to actually change people's minds, that doesn't do anything. And this is what's led me to believe that for most people, that's not the goal. The goal is instead to feel better about yourself by positioning yourself above someone else. You're so dumb, you think this and you're wrong. I think this other thing that is right. Thus, I am better than you. I'm not cool with that. These are great quotes. They're leading us in fun directions. Greatness and madness are next door neighbors, and they borrow each other's sugar. You don't get there without the other. I would agree. We look at the people who have done the biggest things They're all a little crazy. They're all kind of weird. Most of them were crazy and weird before they did whatever those big things were. And we judged them for it. We judge the people who changed the world. We're thankful that Amazon exists and we can get all these things, and it's allowed literally millions of people to make a living or increase their sales through this platform. But hating Jeff Bezos is popular. You could say the same thing about Elon Musk, Bill Gates. Hating Bill Gates while using a computer with Windows software. It just, take it back to the last quote. Haters are people who have failed. They're jealous. It's an attempt at bullying. I didn't do what I wanted to do with my life, so I'm going to invest my energy in tearing someone else down. It's a waste of time. All right. Let's switch gears. Craig's in the chat. That one's my favorite. The best conversations are where there's a bit of madness and creativity. That's where the magic happens. I agree. The best martial artists I've ever trained with have been people who have a unique perspective. They come up with ideas. They want to try them out. Let's see how this works. I think that's a lot of fun. More coffee. We're going to run long today. And that's okay. All right. So Daniel posted, we talk a lot about how lots of things can relate back to martial arts. I personally enjoy Olympic-style archery, which is actually wonderful for focus and strength. Is there any sport or pastime that you think would be a detriment to training? It's a wonderful question. And I'm glad I looked at this ahead because I've been thinking about it this morning in my tired delirium. And I can't come up with anything. Could there be something? Yes. And I think that thing would have to be something that reduces your mental capacity. Let's say you were I don't know, a professional drinker. Let's say you drank alcohol all the time. Right? There's some kind of weird exceptions we could carve out for that. On the physical side, I think that anything that would negatively impact how you move your body, we could say that. Now, the one that a lot of people I think would probably jump to would be, oh, bodybuilding. Bodybuilding makes you less flexible. That's actually not true. There is the only reason bodybuilders are perceived to be less flexible is because some of them use short reps. They don't use full range of motion. Done properly with full range of motion, bodybuilding actually increases flexibility. And if you don't believe me, well, you can go read the ton of information that I read before I wrote that book. I think what is easier to connect dots on is how certain things impact certain martial arts. If we think of martial arts broadly, I don't really think we can come up with anything. But let's say, for example, if you are looking to be a sumo wrestler, you're probably not going to see a lot of sumo wrestlers who enjoy hiking. Hiking is going to be rough on the knees if you're carrying that much weight, well, all the joints, and it's going to make it hard to carry the weight that you're looking to carry. You're going to burn a lot of it off. Oh, there's a nice breeze coming through. It's great. I actually took the cold pack, the dry ice, and I put it under the fan in the other room, so it's circulating that cool air. So there's an example, kind of a weird example. What's one that's maybe a little less weird? If you are someone who engages in weapons practice, and you also, and you've been rough, let's say, here's a good one. Here's one that I think is a little bit easier to understand. Let's say you engage in weapons practice, whether that's something that requires a lot of accuracy, like rope dart or maybe fencing sort of stuff, or, swinging some kama around. If you've been using them and you've been more or less the same strength for a long time, and then you start lifting weights and you get a lot stronger quickly, it's going to throw that skill off because the force that you are used to putting in is now too much, and you have to dial that back. It wasn't that long ago that professional athletes didn't lift weights because the myth was it'll throw you off. And specifically, we think about basketball players. It would throw off their shot, right? Because they're stronger, so that shot, well, is going to go farther. If you're diligent about maintaining the skill as you're increasing the strength, it's not an issue. Great question. I'm going to go drink this coffee and probably more coffee and then maybe more coffee. But I think first I'm going to turn on the air conditioner. And I'm going to try not to fall asleep. This is going to be an interesting day. Here's a fun fact for you. When I'm really tired, the way I know I'm tired, I see cats in my peripheral vision. I expect to see a lot of cats today, which is not something I want to do today. Oh, wow. I hope you have a great day. I hope you will leave me some questions, some comments, some quotes, something like that for tomorrow. Ideally under the YouTube video, but you can leave it under Facebook too. I'm not checking Twitter yet because from what I've seen, we're getting very few views over on Twitter, but we are getting some. So if you happen to be a Twitter person and you're watching via Periscope, let me know. Tag me at Jay Lesniak because we do not engage from the Whistlekick account because we get so little. It's not a priority for us. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Peace.